You're listening to the Travis Makes Money podcast presented by GoHighLevel.com. For a free 30-day trial of the best all-in-one digital marketing software tool on the planet, just go to GoHighLevel.com/Travis. Hey, what's up, money makers? Welcome back to the Travis Makes Money podcast, where it's our mission to help you make more money. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about the fear that holds you back from being willing to go make more money with my new friend, Daniel Packard. Daniel is a mechanical engineer by trade, and he's the CEO of Full Liberation Technology. Him and his research team have spent 8 years and over $1 million in research and development to reverse engineer an innovative system that's helped thousands of people live much happier lives by being free of what holds them back quickly and permanently, and has an industry-leading 90% success rate. So I'm super stoked to jump into this conversation with Daniel. Daniel, what's up? Welcome to the show.
I'm ready to shake my money maker. I really am. I'm ready to help your money makers make money by the way I want to serve your audience. Obviously, they're here to make money, be more successful, bring their impact to the world. But what can keep people from making more money, being more successful, starting their own business and flourishing is what we in our company call the Funky Five, which is anxiety, procrastination, people pleasing, perfectionism, and low confidence. And low confidence can be caring what people think of you, fear of success, fear of failure, self-doubt, anything like that. And your audience, if they're on this podcast, they want to be better, more successful. And so they already know that one or multiples of the Funky Five already hold them back. And what they probably already have is tips, tools, maybe an app, maybe a retreat that's given them awareness or insights or tips or tools to manage the anxiety, the procrastination, the people pleasing, but it's not gone. They're not free of it. And it's costing them money. It's costing them their dreams. So what I'm going to be sharing with your audience right now and to you is the perceptual framework that my company developed that it gives your audience hope and trust that you can be free of these things quickly and permanently. And you're gonna realize that the reason you haven't changed, no matter what you've tried, hasn't worked in the past. And trust me, it is not your fault. You are not broken. I'm gonna tell you whose fault it is, and it's not your fault.
Let's dive in, dude. You set the stage for us. Let's dive in. I want to get into definitely the framework that you have, but you mentioned something just kind of in passing a second ago that I thought was really interesting. It's the fear of success, which is one of those things that people don't think that they intrinsically have. But it's one of these probably more hidden beneath the surface fears that you tend to uncover when you really start understanding why I'm not getting to where I want to go. And that's one of the more insidious ones, because I don't think that most people have awareness that it exists. Like, why would I be afraid of success? Doesn't make any sense. But it is something that holds a lot of us back. So I appreciate you for being here, for diving into some of these things. Let's go ahead and start with those foundational pieces.
Well, I'm going to share the foundational pieces of basically how it's possible, again, to be free, not only of the fears you're aware of, or the Funky Five, or the fear, but I like to explain sort of where I come from and the company, because people love the idea of being free of stuff quickly, but they're going to be skeptical. They're going to think, wait a minute, come on, that's not how it works. I've had this my whole life. You don't understand. So I want to explain how we came up with what we came up with, and it'll help it make sense why what we're doing is real. And the whole passion of my company is results. And as somebody who's in the business world, results matter, but they don't matter so much in what I call the $1 trillion improvement industrial complex. I spent a lot of time and money on things and teachers and gurus and coaches and retreats, and they didn't measure anything. I didn't get measurable results. I certainly didn't get permanent results. And so our company's all about results, and we're about results because when I was a kid, my dad was a physicist, and he said, Daniel, anybody can have a theory or an idea, but it's kind of useless. What matters is results. And the person you want to trust is the person that actually gets results. Results matter. And that idea of results mattering stuck with me. And I loved getting results. My dad let me borrow his workshop. And as a kid, I was a little inventor. I was like Ferris Bueller. I would make things and invent things. And I love the idea of there's a problem and you solve it and you get a result. And it was so satisfying. And I go to engineering school to learn to be professionally trained, how to look at a seemingly complex problem, break it down into its mechanical pieces, and then you build a prototype. It never works, but then you work on it and you tweak it and you optimize it. And it takes a lot of time and a certain mindset until it works. Yeah. And I'm very good at that. And I was trained to do it. The good news was I was trained to make machines work, but I was not trained to make life work. They didn't teach that in engineering school. Maybe it was in thermodynamics. I don't know. I missed it. So I could make a robot that played ping pong, but I I was insecure. I was anxious. I was a perfectionist, people pleaser. I cared what people thought of me. You name it, I had it. And like your audience, I go looking for help. And I spent 100 grand on therapists and coaches and teachers and retreats and apps and books. I was probably in a cult. I was definitely in a cult. And, I learned some stuff, no doubt. I had awareness. I had insights. I was changing. But after 10 years, Travis, if I'm really honest, I said, oh my, I'm still doing this stuff.
Yeah.
I knew there was a version of me that I wanted access to. And I knew there was success out there for me, but it just wasn't happening after $100,000 spent and 10 years. And I had this kind of wake up moment. It was actually kind of sad that I realized that all these coaches and therapists and psychologists and spiritual teachers, they meant well, but honestly, they didn't help me that much. And they took my money, and I kind of was pissed. And I sort of looked up at God, and I was pissed. And I just said, what do you want from me? I know this is a test. I know if I pass the test, I get the good stuff. What do you want from me? What do you want me to do? It's been 10 years, man. I've done every retreat, every trust fall, every meditation. I've done it. What do you want from me? And I was just being rhetorically pissed off, but I got this answer, which was results matter. And you know how to get results. And I just got it. I'm supposed to solve this. I'm an engineer, and we're innovators, and nobody's innovating in personal development. It's the same regurgitated stuff for years and decades. Modern psychology has been around 100 years. It's the same old stuff. And also, Freud was a chain-smoking cocaine addict. It's not a good track record. So I started my research company, Full Liberation Technology, with the mission. And could we reverse engineer, keyword engineer, an approach to life and struggle where we build a system, keyword a system, such that everything is included in one place. And if you work the steps, you get the results, not sometimes, but all the time, and make it measurable and consistent and repeatable. And I'm going to tell your audience how we did it. But first, I'll just say that I, as somebody who just lived a life of anxiety and self-doubt and procrastination and people-pleasing, I have been just chill as a cucumber for 12 years because I've used the system as long as anybody. Yeah. On a cellular level, Travis, do not care what anybody thinks of me. I'm free. I don't care if things are perfect. And I have so much more success with way less work. So I'm sharing this with your audience so that they know it's possible, but also so to give them trust and hope.
I love the idea that you are a engineer by trade too. Sometimes it's kind of like the idea of right message, wrong messenger sometimes. And I think this is the right message, right messenger, because you're not coming. Sometimes we can hear some of these messages, but they're put out into the world through kind of this more spiritual manifestation, sit around a campfire, do drugs together type community. And not to say that that's bad. I'm just saying that some people need to hear it out of the mouth of somebody who's a classically trained engineer, because they're just going to be more convinced with the way that you say it and the arguments that you have, because they know that the work was put in to actually literally engineer this process. So let's dive in.
Thank you. And the key is not whether, sitting around a campfire and learning and seeking is bad. But I will say it does not get great results, because all of that stuff that I tried they're not trying to solve anything. They're trying to teach you things, and you're learning, and it's fun. But nobody said anything about a solution. Engineers are about innovating things that get results. So that's what people say. Well, how could an engineer? You're the last person. I said, we're the number one people you should go to, because we innovate, and that's what we need, and we love results. So here's how it's possible, because people say, well, how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it? Well, it's not ayahuasca. There's no hypnosis. There's no frog licking. What I'm going to share with your audience right now is mechanical, and it's simple. So I'm going to explain to you how this is possible that'll make sense. Okay, the first thing we did as engineers is we looked at what was available on the market, this $1 trillion improvement industrial complex. And we said, there's a lot of good stuff here, but I got to be honest, it's confusing. It's just confusing. What are we supposed to, is it the mind? Is it the heart? Is it my ego? Am I supposed to walk on fire? Am I supposed to do an ice bucket challenge? Is fear good? Is fear bad? Is it my dad? Is it my mom? It's very, very, very confusing. I'm not saying it's not useful, but is it simple and clear, or is it kind of confusing when you go out there and try and change?
Yeah, confusing.
Right. So if the understanding is confusing, usually people don't understand it as well as they think. If you really know something inside and out, you can make it simple. Newton, the genius that he was, took all of motion on the planet down to 3 laws. He made it simple. Einstein took this very complex thing, E equals mc squared. When people can make things simple, you know they know what they're talking about. So here's the first insight we got, is whether it's anxiety, procrastination, people pleasing, perfectionism, or low confidence, it feels like, and we're taught and we're sold the idea that we have multiple problems. But in reality, you do not have multiple problems. What you have is multiple symptoms of one thing, which is fear. Let me say that again. You do not have multiple problems. You have multiple symptoms of one thing, which is fear. So what does that mean? Well, you could say you have anxiety, or you could say you're just really afraid, and you call that high level of fear anxiety. You could say, well, I am a perfectionism. I have perfectionism. Or you could say you have a fear of making a mistake. You could say you're a people pleaser, or you could say you have a fear people won't like you, so you put everybody else first and yourself last. You could say you're a procrastinator, or you could say you have a fear of starting and finishing things. And you could say, well, I have low confidence, or I doubt myself, or you could say you have a fear to be your natural, true, authentic self. So to Travis and your audience, can you sort of see that on some level we don't have these problems, but more just symptoms of one thing, which is fear? And can you see that that's just a simpler understanding?
Yeah, definitely.
And what do you think about that? Any thoughts, any questions?
Yeah, no, I think it's really important to break complex issues down into first principles thinking, which is, am I actually solving for the right problem here? Sometimes we think we're solving for, like what you said, we think we're solving for anxiety, or we think we're solving for people pleasing, or we think we're solving for perfectionism. But if you break it down to its root problems, a lot of it lies in fear. And if we're tackling the wrong problem, then we're coming up with the wrong solutions, and that's why we're not seeing any results.
Spoken like an engineer mind, Travis. Exactly. It's first principles. Everyone else has been sent to the symptom level, and that's why nobody's free of this stuff, and you keep doing this stuff. If we get to the root cause, fear, it makes sense that we're getting much better results. People say, well, how do you get rid of procrastination? What wizardry do you do? Like, it's simple. We go to the root cause. And I want to explain to your audience sort of how we help people be free of fear, because people know fear is an issue. It's not like anyone's listening to going, Daniel, I never thought that fear was, of course, we know fear is an issue,
yeah.
But personal development tells us to overcome the fear, face the fear, change our mindset around the fear, which is great short term. But guess what? The fear's never gone. So as engineers, we said, let's try to solve the fear. So the first big breakthrough that we had is we realized that when it comes to fear, everybody is being sent by the experts to the wrong place. What does that mean? We are taught that fear is a problem of the mind. Change your mindset, change your scarcity thinking, quiet your negative thoughts, cognitive behavioral therapy, cognition. They give us pills to target the neurotransmitters in our brain, understanding our problem. It's all the mind. And so we're taught fear is a problem of the mind. Now, the mind is part of it. The mind can say some nasty, horrible stuff. But what our research showed is that fear isn't starting in the mind. The fear in the mind is, again, a symptom of where fear is actually coming from, the root cause, the source, which is not the mind, but the body. When you have fear, do you say, I think fear, or I feel fear?
Feel fear.
If you're anxious, do you say, I think anxious, or I feel anxious?
No, feel.
Yeah. And where do you feel it? Your chest, your heart, your throat, your stomach. Are those locations in your mind or your body?
Body.
Yeah. So does it track that maybe fear doesn't start in the mind, but it actually starts in the body and then spreads to the mind?
Mm-hmm.
And have you ever noticed, and that's the way we're wired where our body feels things and senses things, what the body needs to stay alive. Then the mind senses that and tries to figure things out. You feel hunger in the body first. The mind senses that and goes, oh, we need to figure this out. So for reasons which I'll explain, your body is feeling this fear, and I'll explain to you why and where. Then your mind senses the fear in the body and then thinks there's a problem and goes, oh my God, it's your fault. You shouldn't try this business. What's wrong with you? They won't like you. And if you're told it's the mind, it'll sound like the mind. The mind makes it worse, but it's not the root cause. We saw that fear is starting in the body. And the reason this is important is because to all the people that were sent to the mind, you were sent to the wrong location. That's why you still have this stuff.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. And when you go to the actual location, you get much better results. Now, this people listening to this going, oh, it kind of makes sense. Now, Travis, you went through a 90-minute training that I sent you where you sort of experienced this firsthand. Did you sort of experience and see that what we're teaching, that underneath what you're struggling with isn't the mind, but the body?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, your training was very, very simple, laid out where anybody can jump in at any stage, regardless of awareness level, and see some real results from it. So, yeah,
Was it simple?
absolutely.
Was it mechanical?
Yep.
Did you have to do any ayahuasca or pray to a lizard god?
Not yet.
Not yet. And I'll explain a bit more, but at the end of this, I'm going to send your audience to my website so that for free, they can download the same training that you listen to so that they can experience what I'm sharing firsthand. This is just a theory, but I want them to feel this. So what the research showed is that fear is not coming from the mind. It's actually coming from the body. And the reason that's valuable is because if you go to the right location, you have a much better chance of addressing the fear. So then people always ask, well, where in the body? Why in the body? And the reason it's a good question is because the body is so much simpler and easier to understand. If you think fear is a problem of the mind, nobody understands the mind. It's like crazy pants Magoo up there, to use very technical phrasing. Nobody really understands the mind. But the body, well, it's mechanical. You've got ligaments, you have bones, you've got arteries. It's all mechanics. And also a word that engineers love, which is systems. It's all systems. There's a skeletal system, the skin system, the coronary system. It's all systems. And engineers love systems because we know that systems can malfunction and systems can be repaired. So as engineers that we're trying to problem solve, we said, okay, if we can find a system in the body that's maybe malfunctioning and causing all the fear, then we could figure out how to mechanically repair the system. And we discovered it. I'm going to share it with you, but the key is to realize that, again, the answer is simple. And it's so simple that you're going to be irritated that the experts didn't tell you this first. Okay, so take out the word anxiety, take out the word fear, and let's use the word nervous. Okay, let's just say that the whole world is experiencing different symptoms of nervousness. Okay? I'm asking you, Travis, and I'm asking your audience, if you had to guess, just shot in the dark, just spitballing here, what system in the body do you think is most likely responsible for making everybody extra nervous? Keyword nervous. Do you think it's A, the skeletal system, B, the coronary system, or C, the nervous system?
Yeah. I was gonna say I'll take a shot in the dark here and maybe say nervous system. Yeah.
And why did you? It's 100% the nervous system. And why did you know that? Why did you guess that?
Yeah, it's kind of the same reason I know the Great Wall of China is in China.
Exactly. Like, think about this. Really think about this. You have an entire planet of people experiencing different symptoms of nervousness. You can call it doubt, you can call it fear, you can call it anxiety. The mental health experts have had 100 years to figure this out. There's a system in the body literally called the nervous system. It's got the word right there. And after 100 years of crappy results, they're like, no, it's the mind. No, it's not. Pay attention. The reason we were able to see it is because we weren't attached to any pre-existing paradigm or regurgitated thinking. We could just look at this with fresh eyes and we thought it's the nervous system. The nervous system is a system in your body. And just like any system, it can malfunction if you don't take care of it. Every system in the body pretty much takes care of itself as long as you take care of it. We're taught to take care of certain systems in the body. You're taught to brush and floss. You're taught to get enough sleep, the food pyramid, exercise. If you take care of those systems, they take care of you. But let me ask you, Travis, and your audience, did anybody ever sit you down when you were younger and say, hey, here's what you need to do to take care of your feelings and emotions every day, basic daily hygiene? Anybody?
Nope, never.
No. So if you weren't taught to take care of the nervous system, does it make sense that eventually over time it's going to start to malfunction?
Absolutely.
There you go. A healthy nervous system, which I now have, you feel a beautiful feeling, which is called safe. If, however, the nervous system hasn't been taken care of, over time, eventually that accumulation of lack of care, it's going to start to malfunction and you're going to feel unsafe. When you feel unsafe, you feel fear. And then fear gives rise to the anxiety, the perfectionism, the people pleasing, the procrastination, the low confidence, the fear of rejection, fear of failure, you name it. So what we saw is just mechanically, simply, is all this fear that people are feeling is actually just a symptom of the fact that nobody ever taught you how to take care of your nervous system. And thus it's cranking out in the body low level to medium levels of unsafety and fear in your body. And then it shows up as procrastination, people pleasing, perfectionism. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So is that a simpler understanding of what's going on?
It basically takes the guesswork out of the equation, is what I love about it. It just brings it down to being in simple terms that we can all understand and gives us a strategy, a starting point to begin to solve the problem.
Yes, 100%. It's a starting point. Now, this is just a starting point to actually bring your nervous system back to health so that you feel permanently safe. We have a 6-week system that we offer. And the value of that is, well, I can tell you, I would say it was about this time last year. I had an architect that came, his name was John from Vancouver, procrastinator, people pleaser, and perfectionist, which, it's good to be a detail-oriented architect, but he was a perfectionist. So he was taking too long. He was frustrating clients. He knew for a fact it was costing him money. Also, it affected his sales because he had this doubt, this fear. And he said, I know this is stuff. I know this is costing me money. I know this is costing me growth. He spent, I think it was almost 7 figures on personal development and coaches. And he said, Daniel, it's killing me. And he said, I was at a conference and I talked to somebody that did your program. And this person mentioned that when people do your program, they don't pay at the beginning. They only pay at the end when they get results. And he just said, wait, what? Nobody, what? So he reached out to us and he said, is that true? People only pay at the end when you get results? And we're like, yeah, results matter. And we're engineers. And if we can't help you, we're not taking your money. So he said, so I have nothing to lose. And I said, nothing to lose. So he went through, I'd say about week 5, not only did his perfectionism lift, he was much more creative and expressive because he didn't have that fear of it has to be perfect, but also his productivity went from, I think it was about 90 minutes a day up to 5 hours per day. His time that he could focus went from 20 minutes at a time up to 90 minutes at a time. But he also enjoyed work more, but he was also more authentic. He was a better coworker. He was a better husband. And all of that was because underneath, he just had this fundamental feeling of safety. And he told me, Daniel, what you're doing is incredible because it's getting to the root cause in a way that's simple, it's straightforward, and it's easy to do for professionals, especially results-focused people. So what I'm sharing with your audience isn't just theory. It has real application to give people the life they want to live quickly and reliably and get them the results that they want. That's the value of it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Can we go through a couple of those pieces?
We could. Well, we don't have much time. And I think really what I want people to do is download the free training at the end, because that is what's going to give them a deep dive and really experience this firsthand. And we teach you one of the techniques that we developed so that you can feel calmer when you apply this technique. And Travis, you went through this 90 minutes and you applied that technique at the end. When you applied the technique, I don't want you to give it away, but did you feel something in your body? Did you feel a shift or a change?
Yes. Yeah. Short answer, yes.
Is there a long answer?
Yeah, I was going to say, not without giving too much away. I don't want to give too much away.
Right.
So that we make sure people go download and watch the training. But yes.
And for somebody who is in business and wants to be an entrepreneur and how much fear slows people down, do you think there's value in people trying that technique?
Absolutely. 100%. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Because a lot of this stuff that we talk about on the show, man, we get a lot of good practical stuff, a lot of good tactical things. But ultimately, if you don't fix the foundational pieces, then the practical pieces seem impossible. And the goal is to move people into the belief that this is possible before they go down the path of actually generating more income. So if this is something that you're listening right now or watching this right now and you're like, man, I resonate with this. Like I love the show and I love all these stories of people making amazing things happen, but it just doesn't feel possible for me. And there's probably some root of this fear, this nervousness that exists in your body somewhere, and it's time to start figuring out some techniques to overcome that.
Absolutely. And it's profound for people because the simple thing that we teach in the training that they're going to get and this technique, it's a piece that's been right under everybody's nose the whole time. They just weren't taught to go there. And that's why people are stuck in these loops in this hamster wheel. And what I want to share is what we're trying to get people at the end of this. There's the 90-minute training, which will give you an experience. And then the 6-week program, which gives you the permanent result. But the result is that you bring your nervous system back to health. And when you have a healthy nervous system, you get to feel a feeling that I feel, our clients feel, but deep down we all want to feel. And that feeling is safe.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about first principles. How much better, I'm asking you, Travis, and your audience, would your life be? How would your life be better, different, more successful if you woke up every morning and your default feeling was to just feel calm and safe? How would your life be better or different?
Yeah, I think it would allow for more creative flow. I think it allows for less desperation as it relates to selling, as it relates to moving your business forward, as it relates to your relationships in your life. It removes a lot of the obstacles that we wake up every day having. If you just wake up without that fight or flight response kicking in from this as soon as your eyes open.
That's exactly right. It permanently removes the obstacle that in some way you know is there, but it's just always there holding you back. We have people on a regular basis doubling and tripling their income within a year. I don't teach business techniques. I don't teach confidence. I don't teach sales strategies. But everything they do, they're just more effective because that fear is just gone and they have so much more energy. So I know your audience is listening to this. They're like, well, it sounds good. You know, how do I know it'll work? I've heard, and here's just what I want to share. Did what I share at least make sense? And what I mean by that is, could it be that what's holding you back at the deepest level is just fear? Like, does that make sense? Yes, it makes sense. Does it make sense that maybe fear isn't actually originating in the mind, as you were told? Maybe it originates in the body. Does it at least make sense? And does it make sense that the place in the body that's originating is the nervous system? It's got the word nervous. Like, does that make sense? Does it make sense that the nervous system can malfunction and make you nervous? And does it make sense that if the nervous system can malfunction and you feel nervous, does it make sense you can repair it and the nervousness goes away permanently? And then does it make sense that the symptoms go away? If that makes sense to you and you're curious to see, okay, but does this work? Then the next step is you go to danielpackard.com and you can download the free training that I shared with Travis, that he got some results. It's called From Stuck to Unstoppable. And that's going to have you go deeper so that you can feel this actually working. And you're going to do one of our techniques so that you can actually feel this working in your body. It's going to give you hope that you can get off the hamster wheel and onto the merry-go-round. And it's going to give you trust that you really can live a life without this stuff holding you back. How's that sound?
DanielPackard.com. So Packard is Packard, DanielPackard.com. Go check out that free training. And like Daniel said, the bottom line is there's no risk here. The only thing you're risking is a little bit of time. But, we've all wasted time on dumber things than trying to fix our lives, let's be honest. So if there's absolutely zero risk to going and checking this out and seeing the results that you get from the free training, then there's just no reason to not go do it. So danielpackard.com, you can go check out that training over there. Daniel, I'm curious on the business side of things. At what point, since it's a money show, at what point were you able to kind of step away from, job as mechanical engineer guy to like CEO of Full Liberation Technology?
How long did it take?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's two answers that come to mind. It took about 6 years to build the system so that it was fully automated and all online. And I did that because we wanted to create real impact. And you can't do that if you're coaching people one-to-one. So it took a lot of years to optimize and test the program with people, 3,000 people, to get it to where we have a 90% success rate. And it's all online. It's all automated. You work the steps, you get the results. That took a total, of about, but all told, about 8 years. But then what I realized when we first designed the system, we thought, okay, we'll build this incredible program that gets 90% success rate. You only pay at the end when it works, and it's just going to spread like wildfire. And what I didn't anticipate, and what they don't teach you in engineering school, is that when you innovate, people are skeptical and people aren't used to simple. And so I went from engineer, this program, that I've had to go out in the world and really have to share this idea that people don't have to live like this. And so I've kind of gone from engineer to passionate storyteller to tell people, you don't have to live like this, demand more. So I guess I'm still doing engineer 8 years, but passionate problem solver who wants people to be happier, and now wants to get this into schools and prisons and businesses and organizations to create real global impact. I think I'm going to be doing that for the rest of my life, Travis.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight that though, man, because I think there's a lot of people who teach this type of stuff. Again, not exactly your program, but this type of programs online, and the vast majority of them spend way more time thinking about marketing their product or service than they think about building an amazing product or service. And why I wanted to highlight that was to show people that are listening to this that Daniel spent 8 years building the product, perfecting the system, working with thousands of people, and then going back to the drawing board and asking, what can we do differently? What can we do better? This person had this experience. This person had this experience. This person had this experience. How can we increase the overall experience for all of these people? And to the degree where you have a 90% success rate, especially in programs like this, it's typically the opposite. For everybody listening, just so you understand, like typically you're looking at less than 10% success rate with a lot of programs, a lot of gurus, a lot of coaching, a lot of these other courses, and anything you can spend your money on online. It's typically literally the opposite. And it's because most people spend way more time thinking about how to market the product than they do actually building the product. So I wanted to highlight that Daniel took 8 years of his time, of his life, just pouring into research and development and iterations of this really essentially technology that he's built that will help you rewire your nervous system and set you up for success, which is so different. And one of the reasons why I was interested in having him on the show is that I've become so weary of the online marketing world that just preaches marketing like it's the end all be all. And at the end of the day, it's like you just have a bunch of people making a bunch of money off of products that don't really do anything. And it's much more important to really focus in on how does this product work? How does it help people? And then once you have that dialed in, now like you're in the phase right now. Like we're having a conversation on the show because you've learned also that it's not enough just to build an amazing product. Now we got to go tell people about it.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, it's so me. And again, my dad said results matter. And to me, I've been in pain and I've spent money on that stuff that doesn't work. And I know that pain of you tried something and you fail and you feel worse about yourself. So the idea of marketing something before it worked is anathema to who I am. But I do realize it's rare and it breaks my heart. It's $1 trillion industry for a reason. They don't want to solve, they want to sell. We don't make much money, but the satisfaction is in the solution. But thank you for appreciating that. The company's built differently. We're built differently. And it's all about results. And even the free training, we want to give you results first. No charge. Just experience this, learn, see for yourself first. Because again, when I was 10, my dad said results matter. And when you're in pain, results matter.
Let's talk about the money side a little bit too, Daniel. Give us an idea of what during this whole thing. There's a lot of people listening that are in somewhat similar situations where maybe they have a full-time career. They've been doing this thing for a long time. Maybe they went to a lot of schooling to do that thing. And they're sick of not having enough, money at the end of the month. And they're listening to this show because they want to learn to make more money. They want to learn how to follow a passion project like this and actually turn it into income to the degree where they can stop doing the thing they do full time and do their business or whatever it is that they're working on the side. What was your philosophy, or what has been your first philosophy on personal finance during building this project? Like, are you taking a percentage of money that you make, you dump it into the business? I have my 401k, I have my personal savings, I have my personal checking, I put money here, just give me an overarching philosophy on what you do with personal finances as it relates to growing a business.
Well, if I had a really good financial strategy, we would not have been successful. This was not from a logical perspective, this was not a good venture. We were trying something that had never been done.
Yeah.
We almost ran out of money 3 times. We had investors that saw the value. But basically, the answer to your question is it was passion, it was belief, it was that this was needed. I didn't have the luxury to say, well, what if we run out of money? I said, I cannot worry about that. This planet is burning and they need something. Our kids need something now that works. Anxiety is on the rise. Addictions is on the rise. Alcoholism related liver disease is on the rise. And there was this calling in me, like, we got to figure this out. This was important. And so we regularly almost ran out of money. But the reason I knew we wouldn't is I really believe this. What we're doing is like divinely inspired. It's, I think, what this planet needs. And I kind of just felt held from the universe and the big wisdom that says, if you go all in, Daniel, if you help people, we will support you. And I would see these miracles and blessings show up right before the credit cards was due. And the money would show up to support this work. So that's probably not a strategy that most people can implement, which is to just go for it and hope that God catches you. But that's when you go big like this and you want to do something that's never been done, you kind of got to be a little irresponsible. And what we saw is clients that went through this were so moved that they became angel investors because they said, you have to get this to the world. The world needs this. So that's also what bailed us out in critical times.
Love it, man. No, I appreciate that insight. Daniel, this has been a fascinating conversation. I hope everybody listening goes to danielpackard.com, checks out the training. Let's move into the last segment here. Just some really quick random questions, quick random answers. You ready?
I am ready. And because I don't have perfectionism anymore, I don't care what the answer is, Travis. What do you think of that?
What profession other than your own do you think that it would have been fun to master?
I know this because before I did this, I was a very successful comedian for 20 years, and I made it to Broadway using my engineering mind to hack comedy, to innovate a comedy show that got me on Broadway. So I would have been a comedian, and I was a comedian.
Nice. Love that. If you could sit on a park bench with somebody, past or present, and chat for an hour, who would it be?
Trevor Noah and Nelson Mandela.
How do you like to consume information best? Books, audiobooks, blogs, podcasts, YouTube videos, newsletters?
I like to dive in to the experience, jump into it, and then I sort of decompress with my best friend who knows me really well. And we kind of do a postmortem and we look at things. So we dive first and we get the experience so that it's real and we see how we behaved. And then we go back and we sort of check the tape, sort of look at it slow motion. So experience, just jump in and experience, probably fail, and then go back and analyze the data. Oh, it's engineering. It's engineering. It's engineering.
There it is again. What is your go-to pump-up song, Daniel?
Well, it used to be We Are the Champions by Queen. Can't go wrong with that. There's a good Ice Cube songs. Put your back into it. It's not a PG song. Do you know that song?
Yeah,
that one. And also, man, you know what never gets old? Baby's Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot. I know that word for word, and woo, it is good. And I got to see Sir Mix-a-Lot live perform it. Religious.
What is something that you are not very good at?
I just said, I was sharing this with somebody. I'm really bad at directions. And it's sort of a beautiful humbling because being a dude, being an engineer, and I get into situations and I go, I am beautifully lost. And it's kind of nice because also I put a lot of, not pressure, but obligation to kind of get this to the world and help people. And it's sort of freeing to just say, I am lost. I have no idea, and ask for help. And it kind of gives me a little bit of grace to just have no idea where I am. And especially turn to a woman and confidently just say, I have no idea. I'm totally lost. It's kind of beautiful.
And as we get everything wrapped up here, bro, where can people go to get more from you?
Well, as we said, danielpackard.com. But what you do not want to do is follow me on social media. Do not do that. Why? Because that is not the action you need to take to move towards being free of the fear. I have laid out, and Travis has laid out for you what you want to do. You go to danielpackard.com. You have a training. It is free. As Travis said, it is no risk to try it and feel what is possible for yourself. So what you don't do is follow me on social media, because that'll just get you stuck in a hamster wheel of information and not being happy. Take action. Go to the website, download the free training, and see for yourself.
danielpackard.com. Daniel, thanks so much for doing this, for bringing the energy today. I know it was very much needed. Everybody else listening, tuning in, remember, money only solves your money problems, but it's a little bit easier to solve your other problems if you got some money in the bank. So let's solve that problem first here on the Travis Makes Money podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Peace out.